Moving too fast, life is moving in slow-mo. I'm a god, but I act if you don't know. I mean, better put your pride aside. I'm a Benz, get more like a Volvo. Your best stuff looks like my words. Synapses, fire, and burst. Got the whole crew with me, about to do damage. You know we ain't average. I ain't gonna say this again, but it's in my time. Better look in my eyes. I'm a genius in the skies with my heart on my sleeve. You force you a block to a king in his prime. Everybody got a line. Sit back with the stars in line. I finesse like my life on the 9 was a diamond in the rough, and now I shine.
No one could stop us, they'll try, but they won't. Nada nos puede parar. Oh no, we're wide awake now. Our eyes are wide open. We're running this world. We're keeping it turning. We're living like giants. Yeah, giants. We're bigger than giants. We're giants. Oh, sleeping giants. Sleeping giants. Yeah. Shutting it down. Been in the grind, and my people all up in this place. Spinning this thing, go to my rank. Royalty up in my veins. I'm loco, think I'm so cold. I say something, ain't no going back. Now they ask where Kiki's at. I'm like, you can't hang with that. 쏟아져 빛이 멀게 된 눈이 멈추지 않아. Once we go, 내게 더운 낼로 모든 배워 빨리 달려. 넌 못 따라와. True damage we do it. True damage 보여줄게. 뭐든 쉽게. 이기든 지든 my crew make the beat. No one could stop us. They'll try, but they won't. Nada nos puede parar. Oh no, we're wide awake now. Our eyes are wide open. We're running this world. We're keeping it turning. We're living like giants. Yeah, giants. We're bigger than giants. We're giants. Cause not the way we're weak, but we coming right back. This time you're gonna see how we do it like that. We're living like giants. Yeah, giants. We're bigger than giants. We're giants. Oh, sleeping giants. Sleeping giants.
I keep on shattering time. I might just leave you behind. Homie, you stuck on rewind. You just quit sleeping on mine. You got your back on recline. When I damage your delicate spine, please don't act out, shy and surprise. They be like, what you mean? What is your winning scheme? I got a giant team. Biggest my self-esteem. Run it back, running man. They think they go hard, I'm like, come again. You run at a time and I'm busting in. While you stumbling, I got this blade in my hand for your punishment.
We're wide awake now. Our eyes are wide open. We're running this world. We're keeping it turning. We're living like giants. Yeah, giants. We're bigger than giants. We're giants. It's not the way we're weak, but we coming right back. This time you're gonna see how we do it like that. We're living like giants. Yeah, giants. We're bigger than giants. We're giants. Oh, sleeping giants. Sleeping giants.
KDA, should we show them how we do it every day? Let's get it. Kali that girl, Kali go girl, Kali gon' stop, Kali gon' skirt, Kali got a job, Kali got a word. 뜨거워 언제나 don't get burned. 넘쳐 흘러 물든 a buffet, 죽여주잖아 like a buffet. 누가 감히 on my outfit? 그 문 열지 마, that's a rock day. I'm giving you more cause I'm greater than. 필요 없는 시험들 다 뿐이미. But all of my numbers are talking babe. 부루마법 message monopoly. 온종일 돈이나 real money 필요 없대. 너네들이 만든 돈들 go get it, go get it, go get it. 더 미션 눈을 못대 못해 그래 너도 그래 cause I got it different.
All I ever know is life upon the throne. 시작하면 끝을 보는 거야. You want more? No, I got it so here you go. You look like you could use some more. No, I got it and never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough and it up and away. You know I got it like I'm gon' blow your mind. Never giving less and I
how I do it every day. Wow, wow，这一路上的奇迹都记住了你的每一个瞬间，无比的耀眼。I know you want some more，准备好就一起走 ，Giving it all more。Now I got it, so here you go. You look like you could use some more. Now I got it, never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, set it up and away. You know I got it like boom, boom, blow your mind. Never get less, and it's how it'll stay. You know I got it like all day, all the time.
We at the top again, now what? Below the crown, but count us higher than a mountain. And we be up here for the long run, strap in for a long one. We got everybody on one. Now you coming at the king, so you better not miss. And we only get stronger with everything I carry up on my back. You should paint it up with a target. Why would you dare me to do it again? Come get your spoiler, but we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you coming on, name you ought to know by now that we're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, maybe you wonder what your future's gonna be, but I got it all locked up. Take a lap now, don't be mad now. Run it back, run it back. I got bodies lining up, think you're dreaming of greatness. Send you back home, let you wake up. Why would you dare me to do it again? Come get your spoiler up ahead. We're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you coming on, name you ought to know by now that we're taking over.
Welcome, everybody, to the first Rutgers League of Legends match of the new year. That sounds weird to say since we were here last week getting ready for a game that did not happen, but welcome. This is Collegiate Star Week, excuse me, Collegiate Star League week number 7 between Rutgers University Varsity and who's the other team? Robert Morris University, excuse me. Robert Morris University, the Colonials from Moon Township, Pennsylvania. I am really excited for this game, and with me I have Keldrick. Hello.
Hello. Today we will be having Rutgers versus RMU, as stated earlier. It will be on patch 11.1 because the season has officially started, and it looks like that we will be getting a nice 5v5 here between Rutgers Varsity featuring Liltop, Decipher, I believe Rem, Transact, and I Am Nice Guy. And then the other team, RMU, will be consisting of, I believe, Strandomitu, Feedmaster, Wonton, Shadow King, and Gus. However you pronounce that name, it's a bit
Is
confusing.
it Gus? Gus?
Guis is definitely a bit hard to say.
But yeah, I'm excited for this best of 3 series. Rutgers Varsity is 5-0 on this CSL season so far, one of two undefeated teams in their Northeast 6 division. The other one, Queens College, is going to be Rutgers' opponent next week, actually. So that's going to be a really exciting matchup, especially if Queens College is able to win their match today against Northeastern. I don't have any updates on that. I doubt their game has started. Sadly, it's kind of difficult to monitor some of that, but it should be an exciting matchup next week either way. As for this matchup, Robert Morris University is 2-2 on.
It
Yeah,
looks like we will be hanging to draft soon as well.
we will very soon. We do have the pro draft available between Rutgers and RMU. I
If we
am.
can't spell our own college, we might spell doom.
That one's pretty good. That one's pretty good, Kel. So
Can't
yeah, what do
spell
you
our own
have you
names,
heard
now we get
anything from the
tongue-tied.
players? What they like on this patch? What we might be seeing in this
Well,
upcoming
I can
draft?
I can definitely see a lack of priority coming out from Rutgers on the Samira pick. I don't believe Transact has played her much, and I know their mid laner Rem has spoken to me personally about his lack of faith in Samira's ability as a marksman to carry games. Transact himself has been playing a lot of the Kaisa, Zaya, Misfortune, as well as the Azrael, one of his staple picks that he's fallen back to time and time again in his games.
Yeah. There are a lot of interesting picks here currently. I'm honestly not sure what's happening right now between the teams having a discussion over a pro draft at the moment. Um, so we are eventually going to get into this game. I think that Rutgers is in a pretty good position here to win this series. Definitely an undefeated team so far. I've had a lot of impressive performances over the course of things. I just want to see how they adapt to this new meta, see how they use the new items, see how they use the new picks. A lot of interesting stuff. Like I honestly just want to watch what they do. So yeah. As for Robert Morris, it's kind of interesting. If you've heard the tales of the great esports organization, Robert Morris University, these are different people, actually. There are two Robert Morris universities. This one in Pennsylvania is a decent D1, has a decent D1 men's basketball program, actually. I was looking into it a little bit because I do my hours of odd research on teams in case we're waiting on pro draft to start and I just have to talk about something for a bit. But yeah, their men's basketball team's pretty solid. I found their last year they had a 6-1 record in League of Legends for something. I can't figure out exactly what it was, but they did have a 6-1 record, which is pretty impressive regardless. So we are currently discussing pro draft still.
Yeah, it looks like RMU does not want to use Pro Draft, instead favoring Torwards using the client pick ban. However, it looks like there is not a rule regarding one team requesting it and thus being forced to use it. Both teams do have to agree. So it
Yeah,
looks like
I
we will be
suppose I suppose we are going into a normal draft rather than pro draft, so that'll be an interesting adaptation. We'll see if that ends up factoring into anything. I think everybody should have enough of the champions that they need. And we are jumping into it. Very cool. All right, let's see what our bans are. Sadly, so when it's pro draft, I can just save the page on my own thing. This time, I'm probably just gonna have to screenshot the draft afterwards so that I can know what is picked. Talia is one of the first bans, one of the big jungle picks of this new meta. I like Talia quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, Talia very strong when paired with champions with point-click CC, such as the Renekton and Pantheon, which it makes sense to ban it out. Pantheon is still a really strong champion this patch. Very strong flex, can go top jungle, mid support, and Alawi gonna be taken out due to their top laner being a very, very good Alawi player with a whopping 76% win rate last season on the champion across 37 games.
Yeah, it's always important to ban comfort like that. I like the Graves ban as well. Sad that we don't get to see Ezreal, because I think his build path is one of the funnier ones I've seen. But I think it's still a pretty good ban. It's very comfortable for a lot of AD carries to play Ezreal. It's always nice to force them onto something a little bit more awkward, I guess. There's the Fiora ban. That's a lot of top lane bans, surprisingly. Usually Lil Top is able to work into a lot of different matchups. I've seen him win losing matchups for sure. So it's interesting, I guess, that there has been so much ban pressure towards the top lane. Although I think Strando is one of the better players on this team, at least from what I have seen of them. And that's Olaf rounding things out. Not a super surprising ban, been a really strong jungler. The Gore Drinker is such a strong item. So not a surprise there. We'll have to see. What does Rutgers pick first? A lot of power picks available. As we tick down, Hecarim. Okay, that's not something I've seen a whole lot of. Have you seen a whole lot of Hecarim?
Hecarim can still be strong. He's obviously a bit less favored due to the current champions that are man in the jungle, such as the Olaf, which did just get banned. We did see a bit of a power loss due to the preseason item changes, but he's still fairly strong, especially if paired with the Galio or the Shen, just to make his dives into the backline that much more potent. It looks like an Udyr is gonna come in here.
That's not something I had expected. Assuming that one's going towards the jungle for Feedmaster. Yeah, I just have not seen a lot of Udyr out of this team or player.
Yeah, the Udyr pick is definitely interesting. There has been one build that I really do hope he goes that came out recently. It's the Phoenix Stance Max with the Sunfire into the Lichbane, actually. A very
cool.
strong build just because of the amount of magic damage you're able to output. It's just absurdly powerful considering the strange combination of items you're doing between
that reminds me of the Runic Echoes days.
Yeah, it looks like a very big dive gonna be coming out here. The Camille Galio as well as the Hecarim on top. Definitely gonna be a fiesta when it comes to these team fights of just everyone jumping in. The Kaisa is still left open as well. A very strong pick to go with these dives due to her ulti.
And that Galio is still a flex pick between mid and support. So there are a lot of options. Usually, honestly, I'm not sure where you're going to see it because mid lane would be better for pairing for that top side dive, but support Galio is generally favored a decent amount. You might be missing out on a little bit of magic damage at this point if you are running the... I mean, if you're running it mid, it's still a decent chunk of magic damage. So we can see it either way, I guess. We will see Poppy and Lulu picked up. A lot of unusual picks for the side of Robert Morris so far. What do you make of all of this? Poppy's got to be top lane. Lulu potentially has a couple of options, has gotten a variety of help over time. I guess I expect to see it support more than anything else.
Yeah, Poppy's a pretty strong pick in the Camille due to the grounded nature of her ulti and how it prevents the hook shot. Gonna be providing a good bit of peel onto the backline with that, as well as just being a strong matchup into the Camille itself. The Lulu might be champion pool issues, who knows. Their support does play a fair bit of enchanters as well as Nautilus. And Lulu, despite not being like a strong engage, offers just so much peel, and it really will make that Udyr a bit of a threat when it comes to hit the sticking power with the Lulu ult slow and knockup. So
and
it
that
could
Kaisi
be
we were
that.
talking about did get banned out. We'll have to see. Both teams looking for their 80 carries and then potentially a mid laner, potentially support for both of them. I'm guessing we'll see an 80 carry here. Although we could wait and see. Alright, yeah, it'll probably be Jhin.
Jhin, that does leave Jinx a very good comfort pick for trans. Like, it also does leave the Samira open, but it is fairly risky to pick Samira into the Poppy due to the Poppy W grounding Samira, who wants to be very mobile in these fights. Zaya, another good pick. Rakan still left open, though you typically don't see him. I also do not necessarily agree with the Rakan pick into the Lulu. The Yuumi would definitely be interesting here. Would it help enable the Hecarim dive into the backline? Zyrakon's still a very strong duo lane even after all these changes to him, such as removal of WR.
Would be very aggressive into this lane.
Yeah.
Jhin and Lulu are a bit longer ranged, but don't necessarily have the kind of peel tools to keep them off, so that could just be kind of aiding the dive composition. I mean, you see the Rakan on top of the rest of it. It does help that part of the team comp.
It's just so much harder for Rakan to engage come later into the game when you have the polymorph, you have the Poppy W Steadfast Presence, I believe it's called. And Jhin will be building the Gale Force as well, most likely here. Typically you do not see them go the Eclipse Collector, Bellymore instead opting for Gale Force Collector, just for the added mobility on a 60-second cooldown being so strong. And so far, Decipher and Liltop have not traded. We should be able to expect them to. It would be a bit of an interesting flex to do, to put the Hecarim top. But
yeah, that would be a bit surprising to me.
Another unfortunate thing that could happen would be, yeah, I do not think Liltop owned Camille potentially, or Decipher could not own. Oh, the trade broke actually. It didn't work.
Alright, well, we will probably be able to do the draft faster this upcoming time because we know what all of the champions are. Hopefully we will be able to get back into it very shortly.
Apologies for the delay. One of the teams was suggesting the blind pick, but we are going to just head into draft normally.
Yeah, I don't think you can blind pick, change these things, but we are going to hop back into it. We're going to have the same picks here. So yeah, what do you make of the drafts for each of the teams? Rutgers definitely has a huge dive composition, and despite all the peel tools, I mean, there's only one steadfast presence for Poppy. There are only so many things you can block. Like, you can block out the Hecarim, you can block out the Camille, you can block out the Rakan. You can't block out all of them, and at least one of them will provide that entrance for Galio.
I think the main problem will come in the wave clear for Rutgers side. They do only have the Zaya for wave clear. Galio not necessarily having as much after the Q changes to him, where it got the longer cooldown as well as the less max health damage, which kind of hurts on the clear of, say, supers. And other than that, they do have pretty much 4 melee chance with Rakan having such little range as it was with the him being a ranged champion, more of a nerf to his kit rather than anything else. And I'd say the biggest point of contention will be this Udyr and his ability to just be able to control the map, be able to deny the Hecarim a bit early, who doesn't have the healthiest clear. And Phoenix Dance Udyr is just able to clear so quickly in the jungle with the aura as well as the flames being shot out. So we'll be able to see what he does from there. If he opts for more of a counter jungling style against Heavy Star, or just power farming up to that Sunfire spike he has, where he can just practically duel anyone.
Definitely a lot of options for this team, although you'd look at the carries on this composition, you look at the Poppy and the Lulu, a lot of this team does want to go a little bit later into the game, want to fight in those clearer front-to-back team fights. which I guess Ujir definitely feeds into as well. You get a big tanky Ujir on the front line doing a bunch of damage, and that leaves the Orianna and the Jhin able to fire off from the back line. I think there's a lot of synergy in this team composition for the later stages of the game, but if I've learned anything from watching CSL, it's that a lot of these games get decided pretty early on, and a lot of them are skill checks. So I think the global pressure from a lot of the Rutgers champions, from that Galio, even from the Camille, who is able to hookshot in from a pretty far distance away, or the Hecarim, who's able to run very fast. I think a lot of that pressure will be some of what can decide these games, just on the basis of you get a level 6 spike, you start to win the game at level 6. I've seen it happen a lot of times in CSL at this point. So, see how it turns out. For anyone just joining, this is week number 7 of CSL. On the blue side for game number 1 is Rutgers Varsity at 5-0 on the season. On the red side is Robert Morris at 2-2 on the season. Rutgers Varsity, obviously one of the top teams in their division, Northeast 6. But this is still a tough game for them, and it's their first game back after the winter break in the new season. It's their first game in like 2 months. It'll definitely be a challenge for this team, making sure they are still synergizing together after that long break. So yeah, as you can see, the comps are on screen. Little Top is top lane. They're not perfectly in order because of some issues with the client a moment ago. So Little Top is top lane and everyone else is the way down. So Decipher jungle, Ram mid, Transact AD carry, and I Am Nice Guy support. And then on the red side, we have Strandamintu. I don't know how to pronounce that. They have a lot of weird names. For Robert Morris. Strandamintu top lane, Feedmaster jungle, Wonton mid lane, Guis AD carry, and Shadow King support. That is about what I expected for this team beforehand from their starters. I believe this is all their starters. So with that, we will hop away for just a second. When we come back, we'll be in game for game number 1, so do not go anywhere.
Alright, welcome back to Rutgers versus RUM. We are kicking off into a game here, and it looks like Rutgers could be looking for an invade here. Their level 1 is fairly strong with the Zyrcon, but it looks like we are hanging to a 5-point from both sides here.
Yep, nothing too exciting.
30 seconds until minions
Not
Great.
super surprised. Both teams have opted for the double teleport. Not shocking, but definitely shows that they're working a little bit more towards a global play style, as well as a little bit more towards the mid to late game.
Yeah. Another thing I do want to point out is the Camille Lil Top opting for the flash. Typically nowadays, for the Camille top lane, you do tend to see the TP ignite due to the hookshot just being able to cover so much ground. You don't necessarily need the flash, but I guess into the Poppy you do just want the extra blink of mobility that isn't stopped by the steadfast presence.
Yeah, it's very scary not having the flash ever, and then especially up into the Poppy where your hookshot can't just get stopped. I'm not too surprised you'd opt for the flash. Both teams starting bottom side will mean that the junglers might end up at the same spot on the top side, or taking their near camps as well. Kind of identical clears so far. That was a missed minion.
It does look like the Udyr is opting for the Tiger stance rather than the Phoenix stance. Will be maxing the Q, and is actually going to be foregoing the Wolf Camp. Most likely to just book it over to his red, make sure it doesn't get stolen away by some weird pathing coming out from the Cypher, but it looks like he will just be full going bot side. And engage bot lane actually. I am nice guy gonna land the W onto the Jhin. It's gonna get a bit of poke down. But other than that, Xayah was a bit too far out of range to follow up with her own W for the move speed, so they walk it out.
A lot of it's just to get that early push, I think. It's definitely nice to keep a double range. Ooh, that was nice. That was a lot of damage actually on Aguas. It's nice to keep a double range duo like that.
Looking top lane. Lil Top could be getting pinned here. Udyr gonna be walking in. Lil Top gonna land the far range hook shot. Slow gun come down from red buff, as well as the bear stance move speed. The flash bear slap coming in. Lil Top gun continue running for his life, but the stun coming back in. Flash taunt from the Gallia. Rem gonna land onto both of them. Camille grasp auto gonna come in. It's gonna be a 2-for-0 play.
That was so big from Rem especially. Decipher coming over was very big, but Rem especially being able to push in and roam, that is what Galio is for. You cannot make that deep of a play without knowing where Galio is, and they must have known Galio is coming over. They could not have finished that kill off. So definitely a really smart play from Rem, barely saving Lil Top just in the nick of time, and that is a huge early bonus for this Rutgers team. That'll put Lil Top ahead. That's already a Sheen.
Yeah, it's just so hard for Orianna to match the Gallios push early, especially if he's willing to sacrifice his health to get the passive out onto the wave. Orianna's mana costs early very, very large, kind of hard to deal with, especially if you start the tier rather than the D-ring instead of the tier. You don't have as much base mana to work with. So yeah, so Rem was able to make the rotation first rather than the Orianna. And now he has his Predator boots up and running, in case he wants to make any roam plays.
Yep, any more roam plays with that. Ooh, that's nice damage.
Yeah, 2v2 coming in the bot, but not going to land the root from Transact, so Jhin will be able to walk it out. All 4 stumps, some still available. And I Am Nice Guy actually going to block the Jhin W to deny the CS.
Although you also have to look at in the bottom lane, Guis doesn't have any health pots available, and there are 2 biscuits and a health pot available to Transact, so they can sit there for quite a while.
Yeah, I actually am surprised that Guis decided to not opt into the Boots 4-pot start on the Jin, you do get that extra mobility against the Rakan to just walk out of the W, and you do have the 4-pots to just sustain all that, all these burst trades that Transact and I'm and Ice Guy are able to get in repeatedly.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Rutgers hovering on that bottom side. They might be trying to set up that, but it seems like Decipher is instead just going for this dragon. Which, honestly, very useful. You want to get that early dragon stack, and I don't think a dive is really in the works right here. So, should be first mountain. We'll see in a moment what the second dragon will be, and then we'll see in a moment after that what the Dragon Soul will be, or we can guess at what the Dragon Soul will be. There it is. Getting either Ocean or Infernal. Those are some very nice souls to get.
And on top of that, Udyr will be spotted out on that ward top side, will be applying a bit of pressure, but with the wave pushing in, he won't be able to get much done here. Going to be a level down on this against this Hecarim. Will be picking up the pickaxe, however. So I believe, I'm gonna check just to be sure, but that will be going to the Stride Breaker? It won't.
It might be
Or Drink
Kraken Slayer? I'm honestly not very sure what this is going for right here.
Pickaxe is definitely an interesting first buy. It would actually, it does go into the Iron Spike Whip, so it will most likely be the Stride Breaker he's building. It does make sense.
Potentially Gore Drinker either.
It does allow the Udyr to get the dash to just gap close that slight bit better. Especially with him being so mobile. Will be passing off the blue buff to the Orianna so she can match the push of this Galio. But other than that,
I mean, it could just be the sorry to cut you off, but looking into the Udyr build path, it could just be the classic high elo solo queue jungler mentality of I'm going to try to carry this game on my own, build a bunch of personal items to make myself very strong and try to 1v9. I've seen it attempted before. It's not always successful. But we'll see how it turns out. I kind of like the idea of the composition with the tank Udyr. But, ooh, look at that. That was good. Oh.
Oh, a bit of a miscommunication coming out, actually. Could have both be launched away by the Poppy. Rem gonna be ulting a bit too soon there. And with the wave pushing out, Udyr is gonna have a prime time opportunity to gank here. Lil Top Flash gonna be coming back up. Yeah, it looks like he will be taking the reset, potentially.
No, they're all just sitting there still. Kind of freaking me out. Feedmaster should be recalling in a moment, though. Yeah, there we go. The Oh, it's the Tiamat. What?
It looks like he will be embracing the power farm style I was speaking about earlier in the draft. Just hopefully farm up his jungle and get advantage through that rather than just ganking or counter jungling. With the Tiamat and Tiger Stance, you are just able to clear incredibly quickly as the Udyr, even without Phoenix Stance into the Tiamat AoE, substituting that to help him clear the Raptors and the Wolf Camp.
But even still, I mean, it's already been a bit behind schedule for Feedmaster. I mean, you're already not level 6 when Decipher is level 6. You're already a decent chunk of jungle CS behind, about 15 in the numbers there. See this gank.
Yeah, Udyr gonna be walking in, has the stun. E coming in, but Decipher gonna be charging in. Yeah. Feedmaster gonna erupt off the back end of that play. Poppy gonna be going down for sure. Rem with Death Bushing Wantoon gonna start beating him up. The passive gonna come back in. The QW slow from Rihanna gonna allow her to walk it out. But she will have to commit flash to the play. And meanwhile, Ram gets to keep his.
And that's kind of the synthesis of every issue that Feedmaster has had in this early game, where just a lot weaker than Decipher. Decipher was able to run in and blow up Feedmaster, as well as Strando. They didn't really have anything they could do about it. Like, what are you gonna do? You're an Ujer with a Tiamat. Like, there's a Sheen and a Hearthbound Axe for Decipher. There's a Sheen available for Liltop. There's just so much power there, and you're sitting here on your dinky little Tiamat. Like, what are you gonna do?
Looks like what he is going to do is be building the Talais here, just to be able to soak up the opening auto from the Hecarim next time, with that Sheen just adding so much extra oomph. And an interesting build choice actually coming out from the Lulu down the bot lane that I've been meaning to talk about. What is the Moby boots? I actually heavily disagree with this boot choice. Typically you see the Mobies just to make some cross-map plays, but if this Lulu were to ever leave Jhin alone without his Gale Force purchase, he will just be gunned down. And it looks like Udyr is not in the bush actually. A bit of a misplay coming out. Ult gonna come in from Rakan, the auto's coming in as well. Rem gonna Predator in, walk the Jhin under turret. It looks like a dive could be happening. A bit of a miscommunication match from the Rakan and Xayah though. They leave Galley out to dry there, so he's gonna have to walk it out. And it looks like Feedmaster gonna have to be sacking the Scuttlecraft here. Gonna walk in, red smite it, but he just gets gunned down by the Xayah Rakan duo. But he's gonna flash it out. Rakan gonna flash in as well. Bear stance move speed. Orianna shield as well. The summoned Aerie gonna amp it up just a tiny bit, and I'm Nice Guy waste flash as Feedmaster walks it out.
Yeah. Ooh. A bit of a fight here. I don't know if Strando wants that. It was a little disappointing for Rutgers that they were not able to pick up another kill onto Feedmaster, but honestly, it's not that important. They got another Cloud. They are well on their way to the Infernal Soul. And the Cloud is very nice for all their
mid lane. No flash, still gonna be taunted up. They both juke out the shockwave. Rem gonna have to walk it out just in case. Lulu Moby boots. The Roam gonna be coming in, but not enough to save the Orianna without ulti. Lulu gonna be flashing away, but does not escape the ultimate Hextech ultimatum from the Camille. Gonna die as well. To 2-for-0 play coming out from Rutgers again.
And that's one of the reasons that this kind of messy pick focus composition, well, we'll see here if Liltop decides to go for anything. I don't think it will. But yeah, that pick composition is just so good because as long as you can create a numbers disadvantage, you can win these kinds of fights. And that's what Rutgers consistently is able to do with these kinds of compositions, and it's very impressive. Now a lot of the mythics are finally coming through. The Triforce, the Proto Belt, Gale Force. I love that item. Gale Force is such a cool item. I know it's like really broken right now, but it's just so cool. Oh!
Yeah. Yep, there goes Strat too. Just gonna be blown up.
I don't think that flash was entirely necessary, but it did look cool, so that's something. And they will be able to very easily get power off this.
It does balloon the top lane gold lead to about 1k. Gale Force gonna come in from Transire, actually gonna be walking it in. Lulu gonna get charmed up and gonna have to ult walk it out. Flash root blade color from the Xayah. The ult as well. Not gonna kill. That is a large waste of cooldowns coming up from Transect going to not pick up the kill there.
Yeah, the Rutgers bottom lane saw what the rest of the team was doing. They were like, "Hey, we want to play the game also." That's not really how it works. They're still building up a massive lead. They still burned a couple of cooldowns off of it. They might actually get a tower out of this.
Yeah, but look,
Feedmaster
and
yeah, they're gonna
come in. But the TP and ulti, double global coming out. A bit of a bugged animation. Tonka land on an Orianna, Hextech will land as well. Knock up onto the Jhin, gonna kill him off the end. Poppy TP's in as well, gonna pick up the kill onto Xayah. Fear coming onto Udyr, gonna be taunted up, knocked away, feared, dead. Lulu a bit caught out, gonna walk under turret, hopefully. Steadfast presence up, gonna taunt up the Galley, gonna ground the Camille as well. Ult knock up to maybe make them tank a bit more. Poppy gonna get taunted. Creep walk coming into Rem, gonna make him tank 2 more turret shots they want. It looks like they're gonna walk it out.
Yeah, even though that was a good trade for Rutgers, just kind of need to slow it down a little bit. You're at such a massive advantage. You don't need to be making these plays 24/7. Definitely could have been a lot worse than that if they did not have the teleport for Lil Top and Rem's ultimate in range. But yeah, even still, Rutgers has their massive 17k gold lead at 15 minutes. That is... Or sorry, 7. I said 17 because I can't hear when our producer Dan is talking in my ear, but that's okay. Still, gigantic gold lead for Rutgers at this point. It's more a question of whether they can close out, like how fast it will be that they close out at this point than whether they do. I think they just need to get a couple more objectives down. I mean, you look at the dragon that is spawning in just a minute. This could be interesting.
Yeah. Poppy gonna stun up Camille, but she's just taking barely any damage.
Oh, there
Tiger stance, but Gallia is just here already. The Predator helping out so much in these roams. Poppy gonna eat the slow, and off the back end, bot lane just gonna get 2v2'd as well with the Rakan ult and Shirelia's Battle Song move speed. Jin does not have his Gale Force yet, so he can't escape it just yet.
Yeah, and this is one of those sad AD carry games where you don't get to play. Like, the other team takes an aggressive bot lane, so you kind of have to sit back, lose a couple CS, it feels really bad, and then by the time that you're, like, competent enough to play the game, the rest of your team has lost around you. Like, I can't blame Gus for any of this, but you gotta feel bad. Because you don't get to do much as a Jhin this game. At best, the team holds on for a while and you can try to participate in the late game team fights, but even still, your team's so far behind at this point. And now Feedmaster decides to go for the Sunfire. I don't understand the point of the Tiamat if you're just going to go for the Sunfire anyways. Is that just me?
It did look... Well, maybe he realized he did have to make the build pivot eventually. By the time he's committed to the teammate, he was already down 2 levels, but now that he is down about 2.5k gold at that, he realized that his job in the team currently is no longer to just output damage. He needs to be the front line. He needs to be able to just peel this Galio and Camille off. It looks like they will be attempting to get the dragon, but the Cypher does have ult. Gonna ult into the backline instead of the dragon. Gonna land onto the Lulu, knock her out. 3-man shotgun coming out, just gonna do no damage though. Only one eye with Orianna. Galio gonna get ult out of the fight. Ult from Rakan, gonna miss onto Lulu, gonna get exhausted. Off the back end, Hex ultimate onto Camille, hook shot onto Poppy. The Lil Top gonna land double the Divine Thunder dealing so much damage. And it looks like Transite could be looking to frag out here onto the Lulu, low HP. But it looks like he's just gonna take the Gromp and blue buff as the Cypher heralds mid lane.
Yeah, and the Divine Thunder is not just a ton of damage, but it also provides a bunch of healing for Lil Top, which means you can just make these crazy dives, and you will very rarely die if you are still outputting that damage. So, really difficult point. I am nice guy's fine.
Yeah. And funnily enough, Lil Top is spam pinging the Cypher's Smite due to the Udyr being able to get the Dragon despite being 2 levels down. Especially with a champion like Udyr who doesn't have the burst of, say, a Nunu or a Lee Sin to be able to just burst it down near the end. It was a bit of a surprise to see.
Or, to be honest, even a Hecarim,
out on the Dragon. Yeah, he did have his complete Triforce at the time as well.
It seemed like more of a decision just not to go for the Dragon, which isn't a terrible decision, but given how the rest of the fight played out, they really didn't get that much out of it. I would have preferred an earlier engage onto the Dragon and more of a commit for that, just because they're so far ahead, it's unlikely that they will take a catastrophic loss, at this point. So I think they probably could have just gone Portal Combat. Oh, that was a lot of damage. I think they probably just could have committed to the Dragon, and if there was a fight that came off the back of it, so be it. They probably would secure the Dragon, and even if the fight went pretty poorly, there's not a whole lot that could be gotten off the back of it for RMU, and Rutgers probably just could have said, okay, and then now we have Soul in 5 minutes, whatever. And that would force some much tougher decision making in a couple minutes. It's still probably, it's a very Rutgers favorite at this point. Guis almost died. Guis did die.
Yeah, it will be getting taken out. Oriana gonna be flashing away from the Galio, gonna be taunting aggressively. One of my favorite things with the Predator. He just walks so quickly. It looks like he will be TPing to the top lane, protect Lil Top from this 2v2, but does not matter. Maybe even be picking up some kills out of this. Gonna be taunting. Yep, Predator gonna come down and be able to walk her down. Udyr gonna try to bear stance away, not gonna work. Just punched the face, gonna just sock him right there in the chin. Lulu gonna try to walk this out. Oriana did go down off the back of that, so it looks like it will be a free bottom inhib and top turret most likely, mid to follow. Jhin gonna be coming back up, so they will be walking it back out. No one there to push out the mid wave, but it looks like Lil Top might once he takes the Raptor camp. Jhin does not have this Gale Force just yet, put the flash up. It looks like Decipher making a bit of an ambitious play, gonna be spamming the Galio, even though that was nowhere near range. Decipher is an enter. And it looks like Guis gonna be picking up a 700 gold shutdown for free.
Ambitious is a good word for it. Rutgers is feeling themselves a little bit. They're very far ahead. I understand the just fight everything mentality. That was definitely not a good engage for sure. But it's not catastrophic for Rutgers. They have so many ways to win this game. I would have preferred a little bit more focus on the inhib and not that split call, because part of the issue is that I Am Nice Guy was on such low health, because I Am Nice Guy was the only one still hitting the inhibitor despite being the one who did the least damage to the inhibitor. We will see, finally, Mythics coming out for most of RMU. It will be the Sunfire for the Strandos Poppy, and for Feedmaster's Udyr, a Frostfire Gauntlet. I have not seen a lot of this item, I will be completely honest. I can see it on Udyr, though. I can see where the mentality comes from. You get those slows, you can try to be a big frontliner, literally very large. Now that's a Baron call, 22 minutes. There's no one for RMU on that side of the map. It seems like they're kind of focused around Infernal, and they might just leave it at Baron.
Trading for Baron, not much they can do to contest it with the level deficit between the two. Decipher going to be picking up the Youmuu's Ghostblade here just for that extra pop. It looks like they will be TPing to contest this dragon though. If they do win this teamfight, we'll most likely be in the game with that bot wave hitting the inhib. Galio gonna come down a bit early just to protect the Camille. Hextech ultimated onto Lulu, gonna explode immediately. Poppy gonna be blown up here as well, taunted up. And it looks like Oriana gonna be TPing back to the base just in case. Feed Master gonna feed once more because he is the master. Gonna get hookshot onto the Camille. Lil Top gonna miss it completely though, but there's no escape from the numerous dashes of Rakan Camille. Gonna be autoing onto that inhib at the end there. Guis and Wantoon left to defend against 5. Galio gonna be pro-belting in, taunting onto the Jhin, gonna land the Eve, gonna miss it horribly though, and he's just dead. Once more, Jhin picking up yet another shutdown. Transact gonna eat 50 different turret shots to the face, and a Jhin ult. He does juke it, and then ult a bit late, a bit unfortunate. Camille coming in off the side, hook shot in. Poppy's back up though, so it looks like they will have to run it out.
Yeah, another awkward fight for Rutgers. It felt like that was an opportunity to close out the game. Probably could have just taken the opportunity to recall though, buy some items and push in for Baron. Or push in with Baron to try to finish off the game. Now they've lost some of the Baron buffs. Still, it should not be a big issue. I think this game is all but over. Such a gigantic gold difference. 16,000 gold. And yeah, I don't understand what Transact was trying there. See, that's the thing. When you're this far ahead, you can make kind of ridiculous plays and it doesn't matter that much. In a closer game, they probably play a bit cleaner towards these later parts with this advantage, but when you do have such a big lead...
Ram gonna be taunting into the Lulu, gonna be dead for certain. Exhaust not gonna save her. And it looks like they will be getting a free turret here. Booty are gonna bear stand stun, but here come the boys! Ult coming in Hecarim and the Gallia. Rakan gonna be running in there as well, Mach 50. Hecarim gonna be using the Ghost, and it looks like they will be pushed into their fountain. Horizon Focus ult coming in from the Orianna, gonna deal 200 bonus damage for a 3,000 gold item. Great job, Riot Games, for that creation. And it looks like the game is over. In 25 minutes, Statement with a 17k gold lead.
Yep. I can't say this wasn't what I expected out of the series. Rutgers is a very strong team, demonstrating why they have been undefeated for so long in this season. And yeah, for the first game of a real Season 11 meta, they kept it up. And I think there were definitely ways to improve for Robert Morris. I think that the late game emphasis of their team comp was kind of bad. I feel like they probably wanted to focus a little. They should have in the draft focused a little bit more on the early game, just because they got stomped out in that early game. And there wasn't a whole lot they could do about it. A lot of the early item spikes, when those were reached, they just kind of got run over. Obviously, one of the big points was that early game play. Little Top getting chased down, but Rem and Decipher able to roam over, get the 2 kills onto Strando and Feedmaster, and snowball from there. I think that was a big point in the game. I think Feedmaster throughout the game just wasn't really able to keep up with the pace and the pressure that Decipher was putting out. So I do think overall there are places to improve for Robert Morris. For Rutgers, they can improve on making the game a little bit cleaner towards the end, but I think overall that was a very impressive performance. And yeah, we will get into the next game in just a moment. I'm not sure if we're going to be taking a break in the meantime. I think we'll take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll be in the next game, game number 2 of this series between Rutgers and RMU, so don't go anywhere.
We at the top again now, below the crown, but count us higher than a mountain. And we be up here for the long run, strapping for a long one. We got everybody on one. Now you coming at the king, so you better not miss. And we only get stronger with everything I carry up on my back. You should paint it up with a target. Why would you dare me to do it again? Come get your spoil out my head. We're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, look at you coming on, name you ought to know by now. We're taking over. We're taking over. Hey, maybe you wonder what your future's gonna be.
Welcome back. Draft will be starting now. RMU going to be blue side here. Rutgers going to be red side. We'll see if we get similar bans to the last game. Last time, RMU did ban out that Graves and Olaf, and forgive me for forgetting the second ban. It looks like
I'm
they
trying to
will be
remember as
sticking
well.
with the Graves ban here. Potentially could also choose to ban out the Galio, which was just a major point of contention in those early game scraps. Galio just so
Ezreal was
strong
the second ban.
in the
I figured
early.
it out.
Yes, Ezreal was the second ban. You are correct.
Which
It looks like they will ban the Fiora again. Most likely don't want to deal with the split push focus of gameplay. I did consider that they potentially wanted the Aatrox Rutgers due to the Fiora ban, but they did not go for it, and it looks like they will be banning the Galio this time. It does make sense due to just how strong he is, as I stated earlier in the early game scrapping.
definitely put a lot of the help from that team all together. It was just such a big deal in that game. There are options to match some of what Galio brings. Definitely there are a lot of different options for Rutgers, but probably going to have to go with a little bit different of a composition. I'm not too surprised about the Oriana ban either. Wonton played a pretty okay game for how much the team was getting destroyed. Definitely had a lot of good shockwaves later on into the game that made some of the later game team fights where you should be getting steamrolled at a 15k deficit not as terrible. So I don't think it was that bad of a ban choice. But I think Olaf will actually stay banned. So the only thing they changed is the Galio. I actually don't dislike that decision. I think the Galio is one of the things that kind of holds together a pick comp like that composition that Rutgers brought. And when you don't have the Galio, you're probably having to change stuff up. This does leave the Alawi available.
Yeah. It could be a trap that Rutgers is setting, though.
Mm-hmm.
If they do go the Alawi early, you could just go, say, a range top winger such as the Quinn, or maybe even just the Kale to just scale up. I know Kale hasn't been that strong recently in that, and it will be
Yes,
the Ash first pick.
I'm so excited. Okay, I'm really hoping, I'm not sure if it will be, but I'm really hoping it's the Manamune Imperial Mandate build, because I think that build is awesome, and I think it's very funny.
Yeah, the Ash Imperial Mandate build definitely is an interesting one with how the slow works as Mandate, as well as just the amount of CDR you can pick up on that build, especially if you go the support. The Ward Stone giving 45 ability haste off the top of my head is actually absurd when it comes to CDR. You do get around a 55% come late game. And it looks like the Nidalee gonna be picked up here. A very strong jungler this patch, just able to scrap so well. And the Aatrox would make sense with the Fiora ban, but they're gonna go for the blind Rel here actually.
That's kind of surprising, but maybe I Am Nice Guy has a plan to go with it. This has to be his support Rel. I haven't really seen any Rel anywhere else. I don't know. I don't think Rel has a whole lot of value outside of that.
It's just so hard for Rel to be played outside of support due to how her attack speed works. Because Riot Games, when they gave her on-hit passive, decided to also make sure she was only played support, so they gave her roughly a 0.6 attack speed no matter what you did. You're just doomed to that fate forever. Kind of unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? Morgana gonna come out here, could potentially be the Ashe Morgana.
Ooh,
lane.
that was a quick lock.
Yep, Snap Yo and blind pick as well. A bit of disrespect coming out from Rutgers to be doing all of this actually.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I really don't like Yone. I think he's pretty not good. But given how much Rutgers stomped the previous game, I think they have to feel pretty confident in this as well. Obviously, we saw Perks yesterday in his debut for Cloud9 not impress a lot on Yone. In general, I'm just not a huge fan of Yone. It's really difficult to lock down a lot of targets just because eventually you gotta snap back to your spirit thing. I don't know, maybe we'll see. Maybe Rem will prove me wrong. That'll be very exciting.
One funny thing you can do with the Rel actually is that since your Q does destroy shields, it does destroy the black shield in one go, so you are still able to land your CC if you land the Q prior. But the really big problem with Rel does boil down to just how polarizing her matchups are. She's just so strong into the yeah, I see it. She is very strong into the melee engaged supports, but against an Enchanter you are just unable to do anything pretty much unless you have your flash up. She is not able to engage well at all, and if she does miss that engage, she will typically be stuck at 200 move speed for about 10-11 seconds due to how her W works. Kaisa gonna be coming in. Rel Kaisa, typically not the lane composition you expect to see. I am surprised that they did opt for the Rel rather than, say, the Alistar or Nautilus, which pair much better with the Kaisa. due to how many stacks they can apply so quickly. It's a bit harder for Rel to do it due to the nature of her W and how slow it is, and how unreliable her E can be to hit. And it looks like it will be the Echo mid to counter out the Yone, and it will be have to be a blind pick top laner. So we'll see what it is.
Garen.
Yeah, RMU gonna stick to their non-traditional picks here. First it was the Udyr, now it's the Garen. We'll see if he does go opt for either the Trinity or Stridebreaker or the tankier Sunfire Cape here. But there's just so many options that Rutgers has left to counter the Garen pick. It really does make you wonder what they're going to choose from. There is the Kale, there is some Mordekaiser, and there is the no pick. Oh.
That doesn't seem right.
That is not right in the slightest, yeah.
It's
It
Gnar.
is the Gnar.
Okay. Alright, so that'll be the Gnar top lane for Little Top into the Garen.
Actually, Shadow King is trying to challenge the Gnar being a the Xayah being a Gnar here. It is in the rule set that you are not allowed to use proxy picks or temporary picks unless it is agreed on by both teams. They are talking to an admin here, so we will see if RU will be playing with the Kaisa.
Or the Kaisa
with the
Xayah.
Xayah.
We will see. I guess we will assume that we'll assume the rest of the champions for now. So yeah, there's a lot of
tensions
interesting
are
picks here.
boiling right now in the
We're gonna
lobby.
we're gonna ignore the
Rutgers
chat right
is
now.
saying is saying that the I Am Nice Guy's client did freeze, so he picked Xayah for him rather than the Gnar he meant to pick. And it looks like an admin will be called, so it might be good to... Yeah, it might.
Okay, so in terms of RMU's composition, it's kind of interesting. They had, to list it down, there's the Garen, there's the Lee Sin, the Echo, and the bottom lane was Ashe Morgana. I guess we can talk a little bit about the support, or the Imperial Mandate Ashe build if people are not super familiar with it. Basically, the way that it works is you start the tier, because tier is now a starting item. You go into the Mana Mune early and upgrade it fairly quickly into the Maramana. It gives you extra physical damage, it gives you extra AD, it gives you extra mana, and it gives you that ability haste that lets you shoot off your W a bunch of times. And then with that, your next item is going to be the mythic Imperial Mandate, which is one of the support mythics. What that does is whenever you hard crowd control or slow an opponent, they get tagged, and then any other damage will then apply extra damage. It gives your team, it just buffs up a lot of your slowing abilities and buffs up your team. And what Ashe can do is apply that to so many different champions with that W, and it just ends up with a ton of damage. You also end up with a bunch of extra ability haste from that, and so you're just able to pump up a lot of your extra ability ability haste for your champion. On top of that, usually you're going to see the next items be, in some order, a Kempung Chainsword for the Grievous Wounds and some extra ability haste, and the Ravenous Hydra, because that also applies on your W. And then, as Keldrick said earlier, you're going to want to round it out with a Ward Stone that just pumps up your ability haste even more. You get to shoot off that W so many times, it is so convenient. One of the big new benefactors of the ability haste changes from CDR, as well as just a bunch of the weirder, littler changes. It's a really cool build, I think. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see it in this game. I think one of the issues with it is you need champions to apply it, and the rest of the team, I mean, there's the Morgana, but the rest of the team is melee. It's a melee mid laner on the Echo. It's a melee top laner as the Garen. Garen has a lot of troubles getting in later in the game, but at the same time, if your ADC is slowing all your opponents, maybe you are going to have a little bit of a faster way into the team, as well as when you have the Stride Breaker now, which gives you that bit of a dash. And then on the Rutgers side, ignoring the Gnar, which it's Gnar. Gnar is a pretty simple champion that a lot of us have seen so much of over the years. There's not a whole lot to talk about. For the rest of the champions, there were, you're going to have to remind me on some of them, it's a Kai'Sa Rel bottom lane, which is a little awkward. I'll be very curious to see how that goes, just because I do agree with you, Keldrick. Kai'Sa's a great champion and goes very well with Leona, Alistar, even Nautilus. Right now, Nautilus isn't in the best spot, but still goes well with Nautilus. You don't usually see that Rel, and Rel can be really awkward to set up those engages with for a melee support. Usually going to see Rel for a little bit more of that peel, a little bit later game of a effect. You see that ultimate being very important. You see just the slow clanking just kind of sitting around be a big thing. I don't really see the point if you're going to try to go in on an Ashe Morgana duo. I feel like you're just kind of going to get beat up a bunch in lane for playing that, while you could go for something like a Leona instead and just jump on them and try to kill them. Mid lane for Rem, I'm trying to remember what we're deciphering Rem's picks.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yone,
you're right.
And then the Nidalee for
You're
Decipher.
correct. Yone is kind of an awkward pick. I think Yone is an awkward pick. I'm not a huge fan of Yone. I guess while we're waiting here, I can talk a little bit more about that. My issue with Yone, I guess, is mostly that it's so difficult to get out if something bad is happening. Like, your main tools all the time are your ultimate and then maybe your spirit. And there are the same issues with both of them. The ultimate is your ultimate. You only get to use that maybe once per fight. The cooldown's pretty long. If you waste it, then you've wasted it. For your spirit move, my issue with it is that you always snap back to where you started. So either if you're using it aggressively, your enemy can just kind of walk away from you, and Yone's burst damage is not the greatest in the world. So if you can't just burst things down, you kind of just lose. And snap back to your thing, and you can't really use it defensively, because if you use it defensively, you just snap back to where you are. It's kind of like Zoe in a way, where you pop into one place, but you pop back. But at the same time, Zoe has that big bubble move where you can do a ton of damage in one burst, while Yone doesn't really have that same thing. But still, I do think Yone has some value, especially in that melee matchup with Echo, just because Echo will have a harder time staying away from Yone because of the whole melee thing. Yone is also a melee champion, doesn't have a ton of range ability, but still has a decent chunk of damage if you can land all of it. And then Nidalee is just a really strong champion at this point in time, does a ton of damage in the early game. It's really hard to keep a Nidalee off of you. And if you get hit by a spear, you kind of just die.
Yeah, another thing that could have played a part in the Yone draft is that you do get that AP-AD split between between the soul lanes and the jungle, which you do love to see. It just makes itemizing against heavy damage dealing laners like that such a problem, because while the Echo could want to go the Seekers early into the Yone, if Nidalee were to come, so much of that gold that the Echo has spent on those defensive stats is wasted. I would have liked to see Transact play more of an AP carry. I know Kai'Sa does deal the split damage, but Kai'Sa's AP build currently is not as strong as the AD build of just, I believe, Dirk into Gale Force into the collector just for that level 9 Q evolve if you start D-Blade. So other than that, I do think that Rutgers Comp does have the edge with the Narrel engage. What it could come down to, though, is once again, Rutgers' wave clear is not strong. It's much weaker than last game, where they did have the Xayah for the wave clear. Now they pretty much have no one. It is so hard for the Kaisa and Yone to step up to clear the wave, and Nar's wave clear is not that strong, considering how little Q damage his Q does to the wave. And meanwhile, RMU, they do have the Echo Q spam 2 cleared out, as well as his passive if he's able to step up. And I do believe that if Rutgers is able to get Rem ahead, this game will be a bit of a stomp, all things considered. Because if Yone is ahead, it's just so hard to shut him down, with him being able to just E over walls and find these easy picks.
It does look like we are back into draft. Don't know the exact result of what happened. I believe Rutgers will just play the Gnar. But yeah, we should be getting into things pretty soon.
But hey, if it is the Xayah, they do have that wave clear.
They do have that wave clear.
They do have the wave clear.
Wave clear was an issue last game for the team composition, and it didn't end up mattering all that much. Although I will say this game, they don't really have that same kind of pressure exerted across the map as they did before. Gnar definitely likes to sit in a side lane. I was a Gnar main for a long time. Champion's bad. Don't play Gnar. Like, just for your own sake, don't play Gnar. I never recommend it for people.
I do think Gnar's in a fine spot right now, though, just because of the repeated buffs to his Mega Form. He's not as strong in solo queue, but in competitive, where it's just so much communicative front-back fighting, I think he does have his place in the meta currently, especially into a champion like Garen, where he can just abuse him in lane and be completely safe the entire time. And with like his E and the slow on his Q, he should just be able to kite out the Garen no matter what.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been the advantage of Gnar, and why Gnar was such a popular top laner for such a long time, is that early on in the game, you're a decent ranged champion against probably a melee champion, maybe a tank, maybe a low mobility bruiser, and not much the other person, the other top laner does can hurt you because you're just a little boy. And then in the later stages of the game, you become super tanky. You become a team fighting threat. As long as you're able to get into your mega form at a decent timing, you're always going to be important to that team fight. And that's always kind of been the advantage. A lot of people are picking up Gnar again for that reason, because Gnar has kind of gotten a bit more consistent for all of that. For a while, Gnar was trending more towards the on-hit builds, the squishier builds, the more split pushy builds, but I expect we'll see a little bit more tankiness in this build, just in order to help out for those later game team fights with everything. Turns out Josh joined Josh joined our Discord call. I got surprised there. But we will be getting into game pretty soon. We have to wait for the spectator delay, because that's how League of Legends works. It makes me very sad every time. So yeah, we're finally actually looking at the team compositions with our eyes instead of with our mouths. I don't see a ton of synergy for either of them. Like, just looking at them, it's kind of hard for me to say, oh yeah, this team is going for this thing. Like, you could probably make the claim that Rutgers is going for a more dive-focused composition again, but it's not as consistent as the last game. It's not like every champion has like a go button. It's like Nidalee can jump in, Gnar has the ability to make those plays, Kai'Sa can follow up on an engage, Yone can maybe create situations for himself. It's a lot more difficult than, say, oh, I just need to press the E button and the R button as Hecarim and go in, or I just need to press the R button as Rakan and go in, or I need to press the E button as Camille and maybe press R and go in, and Galio just follows up with the R button. Like, everyone just presses their R buttons and goes in. This is a little bit more different. It's a little bit more slow paced, a little more assassination focused. But against a lot of the squishier targets, like there's that squishy backline for RMU, the Ashe and the Morgana, which are definitely more of the supportive picks, assuming we do see the Imperial Mandate build. Like, that's the thing. I have to preface this as I don't know if we're gonna see the Imperial Mandate build for sure. But if we do, Ashe will not necessarily be the big damage dealer. It will be everyone providing support around Ashe for all of the total damage. That Garen, Garen's just a bad champion. you just don't pick Garen. This might be bold to say, but you just don't pick Garen. That's the advice I can give you. So with that, I think we will take a quick break. When we come back, we will have game number 2 of the CSL Week 7 match between RMU, Robert Morris, and Rutgers. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
welcome back. We are finally into game. There was a bit of lag coming out from Transect, so there was a pause. We are finally back now. And it looks like we are going to be heading for a 5-point from Rutgers, but it looks like RMU will be looking for an invade through mid. Rem might be able to catch this out, and he does. They're going to walk it out now. And it looks like Shadow King could be fishing for a bind here. Spear going to be chucked, gonna miss.
I love Echo's thing. Wow, wow, wow. I like Echo. They are all dancing. Having a great time. Isn't this what we all love about League of Legends? Camaraderie between teams.
Definitely. And it looks like the Cypher gonna be placing a ward to just protect to see if the invade is coming onto the Raptor camp. No other deep ward gonna be placed from RMU's voyage into the mid lane. I'm nice guy's
very deep.
He is very far in there. You are not wrong.
For being alone, it's pretty deep. Especially, Rel don't do much early game. Kind of awkward, but well, looks like joined by Transact now. They might get some early damage here onto Guis and Shadow King. But Feedmaster is there, and they're just gonna go down the bottom side out. This could be a little bit. No, that won't be anything. Ain't gonna be nothing at all, and both junglers are just gonna take their red buffs and move on from that. Ooh, that's some early damage. Nothing really came of it though. A lot of those extra auto attacks. We do see lethal tempo on Guis. That suggests that we won't be seeing the fun build. Also, the Doran's Blade start. I'm very disappointed. I think Imperial Mandate Ashe is very funny and cool. But they probably just want a traditional AD carry. That's a lot of early engage.
Yeah.
Won't be seeing any kills out of it though. Flash though, for Shadow King. That's important.
Iron Ice Guy gonna be popping both his potions as well, which as well you do not like to see early on. This champion has a lot of trouble when it comes to getting poked out by these enchanters. Rem gonna be taking a short trade onto Wonton in the mid lane, but Wonton did take corruption potion, so he will be able to sustain up just a bit. Not gonna be able to match the sustain of this Fleet Fork, and in the top lane as well, Lil Top just gonna be taking a great trade with the Meganar for him. Q gonna chunk him for another 100 HP just about.
Yeah, those boulders actually got buffed on this patch. That exact boulder as well, the level 1 boulder actually got a pretty big boost in damage. So definitely something very good to hit Strando with, and Strando taking a ton of damage in this early game. Might be losing out on a couple minions kind of soon, but Feedmaster is in the area, so it could try to alleviate some of those issues with a visit. There is a ward there for Lil Top, so Lil Top will know if anything's coming, any funky business. And there's the funky business. But Rem's having a fine time in the meanwhile. And yep, no big issue for Lil Top. Able to farm up the Grasp procs. Remember Grasp, bunch of healing, bunch of damage. Very convenient to have. Especially in this matchup where you just get to hit things a lot. Get that classic...
Feedmaster gonna actually be booking it to the mid lane here. Does get pinged by Rutgers. It looks like they will be able to spot it out. Oh, that E-back is not what you want to see from Rem. Gonna be taken down here for sure. But looks like Nidalee actually here. RMU do not want to commit their flashes yet. Morgana first to make the roam though. Rel finally here as well, but gonna go down. Actually flashed a bit too late there. Rel has the E now, but Garen all the way from top lane. A bit of a disastrous play coming out. Meganar here, but he has to get out of here now. Gonna flash into 4 people and get taken down. A 3-for-0 play coming out from RMU.
Yeah, a lot of problems there for Rutgers. I don't really understand a lot of that play. It kind of just felt like everyone is just running into their deaths, because at some point you just have to cut your losses. A lot of flashes were burned. I do agree, at the beginning of that play, Rem probably could have gone another direction. I think if Rem had just gone towards the tower instead of towards Decipher, you're not also going towards Guis and Shadow King, which Shadow King was already roaming over. This also gives an early Mountain Dragon over to RMU. Pretty big early advantage. Last game, Rutgers started with this kind of advantage, a couple of early kills off of a misplaced early trade. We'll see what happens. Feedmaster now with a couple of assists, kills over to 3 members of RMU. We'll definitely find out what the if RMU can make something big happen off of that with this game. Not disastrous for Rutgers, though. 1k disadvantage spread off of a bunch of different lanes is not necessarily the worst possible outcome. A lot of gold actually went into Shadow King, which not exactly where you want to see gold go. The Morgana, if you are RMU. Even still, yeah.
Bit of a questionable back coming out from Guis here, actually. The wave was not able to get shoved in completely, so it now looks like I'm Nice Guy gonna be switching to the dismounted form just to tank up the minions to get set up a nice freeze here. And on top of that, while Feedmaster was bot taking the dragon, Cypher was able to get a good bit of counter jungling, so we'll have a pretty hefty XP lead. Lee Sin just hitting 5. And Decipher gonna be hitting 6 really soon as he clears out this red buff here. Gonna be up about 4 camps compared to Decipher's soon to be, I believe, 12.
Yeah. Decipher's actually backed already, gotten the blasting wand, so pretty far ahead. Feedmaster with the empty inventory, used all of the consumables, including the smite consumable.
Yeah.
But will now back for the Iron Spike Whip, gets a bunch out of that, now does have the item advantage, I suppose.
Oh,
It's an interesting
Shadow King
trade.
actually gonna get flipped here by the Rel. Do not have the Black Shield up in time. Gonna pop it a bit late. I'm Nice Gunju get on the Morgana Dark Binding as well, so you will be able to live. And it looks like they
Still
do
heal got burned.
spot Lee Sin on a I don't even know what. It looks like he stepped on Nidalee Trap actually. Does get spot on the blue as he hands it off to Echo. And Rem's gonna get a free reset here, I believe.
That would be pretty useful for Rem with how many issues Rem had with dying. Rem did actually get a pretty decent CS lead built up. Might be able to get the attack speed boots.
It looks like Morgana gonna get stunned up, gonna flash that spear still hit though. The flash Q from Rel gonna come in, gonna do 2 damage. That spear did not look like it hit Morgana, but it did, gonna chunk her to half HP as well. And it looks like a dive could potentially be in the cards for Rutgers' bot lane, especially with Dark Binding being used there really early.
Decipher left though. I don't think they're gonna end up being able to dive.
Yeah,
Flash
looks like
and Exhaust were burnt for Shadow King, but Guis didn't have to burn anything. That might be one of the reasons why they're so nervous to go for a dive.
and Herald gonna be taken.
I could get a kill here.
Feedmaster was just on his blue, cleared out his grump as well, and as soon as he saw the Cypher go for that bot gank, he booked it straight to the Rift Herald. Gonna be able to pick it up and potentially even drop it mid if he gets the gank off, but he's pinging on the way to top of pretty large wave stacking up, but Lil Top is soon gonna get Mega Nard, so I'm not sure if this is actually diveable. He's at 90 rage now, one or two more autos here, and he will get it. Looks like, yep, Feedmaster gonna be backing instead. Mega Nard was up too soon, he did have the ulti.
Yep. It does look like Strando has actually kept a pretty even CS difference in that top lane. Has been, I mean, it's pretty impressive playing up against Dinar as Garen, keeping that kind of CS advantage, but oh, that was interesting.
It's just
Even
a bit
still, all the
harder.
other CS differences have been bad for RMU.
It's just a bit harder as Gnar to bully these melee champions. Since he goes Divine Thunderer, you actually do not get the Phage move, the old Phage move speed passive that's now in Hardbound Axe, which doesn't actually build into Divine Thunderer, despite being a Bruiser Mythic. So you are stuck without the move speed bonus from these autos. You are getting some health sustained. It's 28 health over 6 seconds, which honestly isn't that much. But looks like a flash kick coming out from Feedmaster. The ult as well. Transact is 6, might be able to get a kill on Gnar. Gonna be walking from base here, gonna bounce right onto Morgana's head. Guis gonna flash, but it's pointless. He is still in auto range of Transact. It looks like Garen's gonna waddle down as well. Lil Top gonna be Mega Gnar soon. Rel booking it at Wonton, but he does have the ulti, so Transact needs to be careful. W gonna come in. Parallel Convergence gonna land, gonna give Echo the shield, but that is it. Yep, Dragon is up now. Pink Ward on it to spot out, as well as the Skull Vision, but looks like Feedmaster instead just gonna plop the Herald down and try to steal it away. The Cypher is coming back, but Nidalee is a level up and still does have the execute, but here comes the Mega Gnar actually. Let's see if he can make a play with it. Gonna bounce one-man ult onto Morgana. No Black Shield up just yet. It was on Wonton. Pink, another pink down. No arrow. It'll have to be up to Feedmaster, but it looks like they are dragging the Dragon out. Gonna Warthog over, miss the Q, and he's gonna have to flash out. Most likely does not have it up. I'm sorry, he is gone. Rem gonna E over the wall, double flash from coming out, and it looks like Garen gonna be going down. It's I believe 3 for 1 play, as well as the Dragon.
And we'll see the end of this play. Yeah, that'll be nothing. Definitely a huge play for Rutgers there, and it kind of just felt like a bunch of weird split calls for RMU. You don't really want to stay in the area with anybody if Feedmaster is just going to go in for the suicide steal attempt. Yeah. And so they just kind of lost a couple of extra members on the back of it when they really didn't need to. It seemed like they weren't keeping a track of Lultop's Mega Gnar timer. Also, a lot of the summoners were still available for Rutgers when they just were not available for RMU. And so just going for any sort of play on the back of it was always going to be really difficult.
Oh, and it's a kick coming onto Rem. Gonna ult through, just barely dodge the parallel conversion. He's gonna be burning the flash of Wonton. W flash, but the Q's gonna land. Ash ult gonna fly across the screen as well, but is not gonna do anything. Rem gonna go down once more.
It's a nice spear, but too many people there. Yeah, that was a good attempt from Rem. A lot used there to try to knock him down finally, but...
Oh, and it looks like Q gonna land onto the Nidalee. And Garen gonna come in. Ult gonna most likely come down. The flash away, actually. Garen used flash earlier, so the Cypher will be able to walk this out at the cost of the stopwatch and the flash being burned. Because the slow from the Ashes make it so much easier for this Morgana to hit for Dark Binding. And it looks like I Am Nice Guy gonna flash ult into the Ash, gonna stun her up as well. Garen gonna be tanking turret. He really didn't want to there. Flows as well repeatedly. One more auto from Transact with a Hail of Blades. And meanwhile, Lil Top gonna proc Mega Gnar very soon. And it looks like what was almost a free first turret in the mid lane for RMU is gonna be a free first turret for Rutgers.
Yep. That was a big turnaround for Rutgers, and it did seem like RMU stayed around just a little bit too long. Didn't really respect the Rel, didn't really respect the Kaisa. And all of that damage came through, not to mention Lil Top with the Divine Thunderer now. A couple of mythics were completed, and they just didn't really respect the damage that was coming through. And they hadn't backed for that, those mythics themselves, so... A couple of great plays by Rutgers puts them in a pretty surprising gold lead, almost 3,000 now, and that's a blue buff steal for Lil Top. It's gonna be kind of annoying if you are Feedmaster. Feedmaster actually just walking by the blue buff thing, you know, like, where'd my blue buff go?
Yeah, I think it definitely was a huge surprise to see I Am Nice Guy actually live Liv getting binded after the flash ult. The Garen ult just barely not killing him. The aftershock was proc, so what Garen thought was going to be enough damage there, the aftershock absorbed some of it before the true damage ult came down, so the XQ was not as much as he might have expected. And on top of that, he was actually tanking the turret because Ashe was not in it for as long as he expected. Q gonna come to run at the Gnar, but he's Mega now. Gonna miss the ulti for the stun. It looks like the goons are pulling up. Ashe, Morgana, and Lee Sin coming in. But is this a solo kill? The W gonna land, and the Q at the very moment before the Ashe ult lands. Morgana ult gonna come in as well. E not up. Lil Top gonna go down for sure, and it's a buff transfer most likely. And it's gonna be a snipe from Morgana. Should not have taken that kill. 150 gold shutdown going over to Shadow King.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a, I think that was a misplay of it, having that big shutdown go over to Shadow King. Shadow King has gotten 2 kills. Tied for the highest kills on the team, best KDA on the team. Well, no, not really, but that's not what the Morgana should have. The Morgana should be giving the kills over to Ashe. Guish should be the one with all these kills instead. Guish still working towards that first mythic, while meanwhile Shadow King's sitting on the Moby Boots plus the Imperial Mandate, having a great time, but that's not going to provide a whole lot. Imperial Mandate on Morgana is good, but you're not tagging a lot of damage with that. You're only really tagging things that you hit with a binding or that you hit with ultimate, both of which are a little conditional. So
oh, Ashe actually a bit of an overstep here. Maybe doesn't have the Gale Force just yet to dash out of it. So she needs to be a bit more careful. Ward not going to be able to get cleared in time. They do have a ping for it. And it looks like the second Herald of the game going to be plopped down mid once more to get that mid turret. Rel W going to come down just to hopefully peel off anyone. And Herald's going to land and flash kick onto the Nidalee. Not going to get much out of it. Ashe ult not up just yet. Gale Force offensively coming up from Transite, gonna go down here for sure. Mega Gnar coming down onto the Echo. Echo ulting out. Ashe W gonna land Sphere, landing as well into the Morgana. Parallel Convergence and ulti. That's never gonna be able to walk out of it. Mega Gnar landing more Qs, more folders, more stuns. Morgana coming out, no stopwatch. However, at the end of it, Garen gonna Stridebreaker in, hopefully look to blow up anyone, but the ult is not gonna come out in time. The cast time too long. It's gonna be a 5-for-1 for Rutgers.
and a bunch of CC coming through for Rutgers. Really, really great team fight there. And yeah, that's going to be a huge shift in this game. Another dragon over to Rutgers. It's the second, moving towards that Ocean Soul, one of the better souls in the game by most people's personal judgments.
Cypher gonna do a bit of a blind invade here. Has landed the mark onto the Lee Sin. Gonna look to jump away. Might onto the red buff as well. Rel is here to chase him out. It looks like Feedmaster might be going down here. Did not expect Rutgers to stick around for so long. Got W away, and looks like everyone is gonna make it out alive.
Yeah, that was a little awkward, but everything's fine now. So, still Rutgers now with an almost 6k gold lead. And does feel, I mean, it went a bit better in the early game this game. I mean, they didn't have as big of a deficit early on to the game, but now you look at it and you say, there's a lot of issues for RMU now, and I don't know how they're going to win fights. They're not fighting too poorly, but that last fight was just so catastrophic. They've got to find a way to make maybe a pick happen onto Transact. That's definitely the big target. They killed Transact in the last fight, but they probably have to make sure Transact's out of it, and probably Little Top as well. Little Top. Probably Lil Top as well. There's just so many targets they've got to focus down in order to make this one work.
Yeah, it's just
and
so...
they've got to do it through Locket.
Yeah, the Locket as well. Rel's Peel is definitely one of the best in the game currently. She just has so much lockdown, especially if you're a melee champ like the Echo, Garen, or Lee Sin. It's just so hard to get near this Kaisa to hit her due to how the Rel attract and repel works with the circle appearing around Kaisa. And there are actually also some really cool shenanigans you can do with it if Kaiser were to ult into the backline, with how the stun appears as a bridge between the two champions. So you can get a good team fight off, but it looks like they are posturing to kill Yon, who is a bit shoved out too far. Lee Sin gonna try to beat him up, but the CC chain from the Q3 and ult gonna come down. Stun gonna land on Yon, but here comes Lil Top. Ult gonna give a 700 shutdown to Garen. Meanwhile, Shao King gonna get run down, but maybe a bit of overstep. Lil Top gonna buffer the jump to escape the stun, and Megadar gonna come out just in time. The flash not gonna be enough to dodge out of the Gnar ulti. Rel gonna come in, maybe potentially even flip the Echo. But here comes Transact with the ult. Unfortunately, the binding from Rel was on the Gnar, so stun was not able to land. Transact a bit, very aggro, gonna flash forward to nab the kill on the Morgana, which means they can get Baron here most likely. They're all a bit low though, so it'd be pretty risky.
Yep. I think that'll be probably the end of that play. Decipher might try to
but
shut down
lucky top.
Feedmaster
Decipher's
again.
not done. Yeah, gonna claw up Lee Sin there. And that is now a 2.4k gold lead in the jungle.
Yep, and it was a better start to the game this game for Feedmaster, but again, just getting outplayed by Decipher, losing out so much in the jungle camp game, and then just kind of getting shredded in the later stages of the game. I mean, this whole thing started out with Feedmaster just getting destroyed by Rem in the 1v1, and that definitely hurt, because even when Rem got shut down, it's now a 4v4. You don't, like, the whole point of that play for RMU was, we're behind, we have to catch someone out on the side lane and then make it a 4v5. But if it's 4v4, you still lose that 4v4. Your team's weak. You're gonna lose.
I would also say that was a
Go ahead.
very tilted death coming out from Feedmaster. If you didn't notice, he had died earlier in that top lane play, and when he ran back to fight the Nidalee again, he actually forgot to buy. He was sitting on 1,400 gold there. So I would say he's playing a bit tilted from just this Nidalee being able to steal all his camps away, as well as the Gnar, with how he hasn't didn't spend his gold before running out again. He has spent now, but it is a 3 level lead in the jungle and almost a 70 CS lead as well. It looks like face check from Feedmaster. Gonna get ulted on by Kaiser. The kick as well. No Ashe ulti just yet. Gonna have to flash away from the spear. And it looks like the Dark Bind is gonna go wide, but Feedmaster does live. Unless, ooh, that was a close spear. Garen's gonna TP in, hopefully be able to contest this dragon. I don't necessarily agree with this play though, due to how behind there. Decipher being caught off, but Feedmaster outside gonna get assassinated by this Yon pick. Gnar gonna land onto Ashe, he's dead as well. The Void Seeker W. Gnar ult gonna whiff onto Yakko due to the excellently timed Chrono Break to juke it out. He's gonna be able to live here. And it looks like Garen's gonna be able to clear this wave, but it's a bit risky. That Yon Q3 gonna deal so much damage. Echo gonna E in, but he has no Chrono Break. Gotta be careful there. It's a free dragon for Rutgers.
Yep. Another big play for this Rutgers team. Feedmaster just getting caught out of position. Feedmaster didn't die, but on the back of that, so many cooldowns were burnt. Both of Guis's summoners were burnt. King's Exhaust was burnt. Feedmaster's Flash, Strando's TP. So much was burnt there that when Rutgers decides, okay, now we're 5, let's turn and kill them, it was easy. That just, everyone got run over. And as long as they had that flank with the Yone taking down Feedmaster, like on low health, it's like, okay, that's one kill. Everyone else gets run over in turn. And it's difficult for Feedmaster to have a whole lot of influence at this stage of the game. Like, it's not that Lee Sin is useless at this stage of the game, it's just that Feedmaster has not really been able to provide a whole lot. And now, Mikhail's Blessing has been purchased by Decipher, going that full defensive supportive Nidalee build. I love supportive Nidalee. I really enjoy the early game damage that moves into the later game support. I think that's a very cool build path that Nidalee gets to take. And I think that... No, go ahead.
With the pick tools from RMU, such as the Ash Shield and the Morgana binding, it's just so important to make sure you don't give away any big shutdown. It looks like Yonel's gonna land on it too. Morgana just gonna explode off the back end, as well as the Garen. Echo gonna try and make something happen in the backline, but he just does not enough damage. Feedmaster gonna get caught out, Rock in a hard place, Rel and Kaisa gonna get stunned up, knocked up. Here comes Nidalee, can't escape because there comes Transact waiting in the wing. Echo's gonna have to find a safe place to recall, and that was a 4v5 as well. Wiltop was just really pushing out bot lane, and it's just a 13k gold lead now, but soon to be 14, 15k once they pop these turrets.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the last stands for RMU. They're maybe going to have a couple more team fight opportunities, but it's going to be a big issue for them to even try to win them with how poorly these last couple of team fights have gone. That one at 4v5, no Lil Top there, did not matter in the least. It's just so difficult for RMU to make anything happen here. They've fallen so far behind again.
There comes the knockup from Morel, point and click flip, akin to old volley there. He's just gonna get taken out again. Morel gonna jump in, E to stun the Echo, gonna knock him away, but there goes the Nidalee, gonna get stunned up, could potentially McHale himself for the heal, but gonna McHale's Transact, I think. Nope, that was just her Primal Surge, as well as the Transact heal himself, gonna heal half health into that reset. It is a triple inhib at 27 minutes, as well as a 60k gold lead. Rem gonna ult into the Echo. No ult on him just yet. Q3, E out, and he is gone.
Yep. That looks like, game's not over, but it's pretty close to over. I mean,
it would take a miracle for RMU to claw this one back.
Yeah, and the problem isn't just the fact that they are triple inhibbed at this point, but also, even if they get out of being triple inhibbed right now, they're almost certainly going to lose that Ocean Soul in a moment, which is a permanent buff. They're just going to lose. And if not that, they are definitely going to lose the Baron very soon, which Baron with triple inhib definitely just runs down the entire game and wins it. So there are not a lot of options left for RMU. I think this game's mostly over. I gotta give a lot of credit to all of the members of Rutgers here. I definitely have to give a lot of credit to Transact and I Am Nice Guy, who made what was definitely not the best bot lane combo work out very well. They made a couple of early plays happen. They worked towards a pretty big CS lead at this point. I think they've had a pretty big CS lead for a while. Guis got shut down a lot of times. Shadow King got shut down a lot of times. And in general, they've just been able to make a lot of plays at this point in the game, despite the pretty bad early matchup that they had to work with. So,
yeah, well, gonna be picked up here, as well as the Baron. Rem gonna be pushing into their base mid. Does have the Mercurial Scimitar in case he does get Ash Arrowed. It looks like Feedmaster almost gonna die to the minions there. And Rem's in a bit of a precarious spot here. And he's gonna be Mercurial Scimitar with the Garen Silence. Gonna Q Echo and just erase him from the earth. As well as the Morgana. Transact gonna come in as a formality. Gale forcing in, and this game is over. 29-minute stomp coming out from Rutgers.
And that is the 6th consecutive 2-0 for Rutgers Varsity in this CSL season. They will continue to be undefeated, meeting up against Queens College next week. And what a performance that was. That was incredibly impressive couple of games. Showed off a couple of different compositions. Both of them definitely focused around the picks, the skirmishes, and Rutgers was winning a lot of them. And Rutgers still was able to compete in those later game team fights. Definitely always felt like they were at an advantage, even when they fell behind early in that second game. still, it all worked. It still definitely came together and resulted in a victory. So definitely all very impressive. A lot to work on if you are Robert Morris, because that was pretty rough. That was definitely a pretty rough couple of games. A lot to go back to the drawing board, say, okay, maybe not the Garen, maybe not the Ujir. Work on some of the early gank timings, the jungle pathings. Make sure you're not falling so far behind in CS in a lot of the lanes. But yeah, that was a good series from Rutgers. I think that Wonton played pretty well overall, despite a lot of the issues with RMU as a whole. The second game was a lot worse, I think. Being banned off of the Orianna was really rough. Playing the Echo was definitely a bit of a step down, and definitely had a lot of issues CSing, I think, throughout the game. Was down a pretty decent chunk of CS to Rammer early on, which Yone is not the biggest lane bully in the world. Echo should be able to compete okay in that regard. Still, I think Rutgers has to get a lot of credit for this victory. Obviously, a great team. Obviously, powering through this CSL season. And yeah, we are going to see them again next week against Queens College. Do you have any last remarks, Keldrick?
No, I think you covered it all.
All right. So with that, I'd like to thank Dan, who has been our producer and has been broadcasting everything for you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed this. For myself and Keldrick, that has been CSL week number 7 for Rutgers University, 2-0ing Robert Morris. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you for our next stream probably next week. So yeah, thank you for watching.
This is your moment, now is your time, so prove yourself, hey. Rise, make them remember. Busy chasing round with you on the downtown. There's blood on the crown. Yeah, rise, they will remember. Busy chasing round with you on the downtown. There's blood on the crown. Welcome to the climb up, reach for the summit. Visions break the one false step, lead the end. So higher and higher you chase it. It's deep in your blood, go and take it. This is your moment. Take to the skies, go. Prove yourself, hey. Rise, make them remember. Busy chasing round with you on the downtown. There's blood on the crown. We will never be sober. Yeah, GA 우리 간지에 we can never be humble. We gon' shine. Movie scene when we enter. 평생들이처럼 고백 형님의 heavy metal. Smell like a tin spirit 중 golden Lord burner. Pick up your weapon and face it. 아무도 널 막지 않아. 너 얼굴이 말 많아 간중은 널 믿지 않아. 보기 전까지 무시. That's why we gotta rise. Homie god dang it. 난 너만 틈지 못대로 걷고. Yo, 바꿔내는 키보드 잘 봐라 모니터로. 내 방패는 가시오 전투하는 날개. 중력 씹어먹고 저 달나라까지 rise. Prove yourself and